Hello and thanks for joining me in the workshop again today. And something a little bit different in this video. I'm doing some maintenance work on my motorcycle trailer. Now when I say motorcycle trailer, I mean a trailer for carrying motorcycles, not a trailer to tow behind a motorcycle. I have a Motolug trailer, it's called Motolug. When I edit this video, I'll put details in the description. I'll just kind of flash up the name on the bottom of the screen. No affiliation at all, just a very happy user. I've had this trailer, I was trying to remember how long, 10, 11, possibly even 12 years I've had it, and it is brilliant. The reason I like the trailer is a couple of features about it, and I'll do a different separate video about the trailer demonstrating it in use. The reason why I'm servicing the trailer is I'm about to use it, so maybe I'll follow this one quite shortly with another one showing it in use. But two features of the trailer that I really like. One is that it collapses down, it takes apart, and when you take it apart you need no tools, it just fastens together with pins and clips. And then you can pop it in your boot. So if you're towing a motorcycle somewhere, when you finish towing it, you've not got the vulnerability of leaving your car parked up with the trailer behind, somebody could pinch the trailer. You just very quickly, it takes about 5 minutes, disassemble the trailer, shove it in your boot, and it's out of the way. The other feature I like about it is that you could assemble it in different configurations, and mine will assemble so you can put it, so it's a narrow trailer, so just for carrying one bike, or you can assemble it with some extra parts to carry two motorcycles side by side. So altogether it's very flexible, and of course because it disassembles, I don't have a trailer sitting around in the yard taking up space and there for somebody to potentially pinch. I just take it apart when I finish with it, pop it in a little shed I have in the garden, and it's out of the way, dry, clean, wait till next time I use it. Anyway, it has been used a lot, and as I said, I've had it well over 10 years. And so periodically I just like to do a bit of service work on it, and particularly today I'm just having a look at the wheel bearings. So if you're not interested in having a look at trailer wheel bearings, then I won't be offended if you move on. But let's zoom in and have a look and I'll show you what I'm doing. These are the wheels off my trailer, and of course because the trailer disassembles, these are the parts that it comes into. So you've got the wheel here on an axle, and if I just turn it down you can see this bit here is where it then fastens into the assembly of the trailer, and a pin goes through here. But there's no problem with them, but just periodically need to just sort out the bearings. So if I move this, I don't know if you see or hear, there is actually quite a lot of play in that one and that one as well. So that's just what I'm dealing with today, sorting out. So first job, let's have a look and just make sure the bearings are okay. I'm assuming that all I need to do is grease them up and just tighten them up slightly. So I'm going to start just by removing this little dust cap on here, which is just a push fit. So if I just get a screwdriver in there, gently pry it off, should be able to get to the inside. Right, so what we've got here is we've got the axle. You can see there's a lot of, I've packed it out with grease before. There's not a whole grease here, which I think I'll just clean that all out. And then once cleaned out, you'll be able to see underneath. But there's a couple of split pins holding a retaining nut in place there, which I'll just adjust up after having re-greased it. So first job, I'm going to get all this old grease out of here. Now I've cleaned the grease off, we can see what we're doing. You see there's this castellated nut on here with a split pin holding it in place. And the reason we got that is because obviously you don't want to clamp this nut down because that's clamping directly on the bearings, so you just turn the nut as tight as you want it to be and then retain it in place with the split pin. So I'm going to remove the split pin, remove the nut, and then the washers underneath. We'll have a look at the bearings, clean them up, pack them up with some fresh grease and put it all back together again. The nut is 24mm, if you're interested in such things, so it shouldn't be too tight. There we are. It's not tight at all. In fact, just having loosened it off, I can turn it with my fingers now. Right, that's the nut off. Now, I'll admit this is the first time I've had the wheel bearings apart. In the past, I've just re-greased them. You'll see there is a grease nipple somewhere there. There's a grease nipple just on that side there, and I've just pumped a bit of fresh grease in on those. But I just thought it's time to take them apart, as I've got a morning free, and have a closer look. So, just with a screwdriver, we've got a small washer first. Got a small diameter washer. I'll get rid of this one off. Right, okay. And then we've got this. I think that's actually the outer race of the bearings by the looks of it. Just trying to very, very gently ease it up. I think I need another screwdriver, one on each side, then I pull it evenly. Okay, armed with two levers, see if we can just ease it off gently. That's done the job. Whoa, where are we at? Oh, so yeah, that was right, that was the rest of the bed. So they're the bearings, and they're roller bearings there. So that's the wheel free axle. And then we've got the other set of bearings on the other side, if you can see them there on the underside. So what I'm going to do, and the whole thing is packed with grease because I've periodically put grease in, so I'm going to clean all this old grease off. I'm going to clean these bearings up. I'll probably wash them in my parts washer, and then I'm going to re-grease them, put them back together, and tighten down that nut. Although there was plenty of grease packed into these bearings, because every year I pump some more grease in, so it's fine. It was really quite dirty, was the grease in there. They're really quite horrible. So I do want to make sure I get all of that old grease out before I put some more fresh clean grease in. So I'm going to give these a good clean in my parts washer here. So I've just got some degrease and cleaning fluid on here, an old toothbrush, and just really work this round and make sure that I get all of the old grease out of these bearings. Right, having thoroughly degreased both bearings, I'm going to give them a rinse in some fresh water to make sure I get all of this cleaning fluid off it. Then I'll blow them off with my airline to make sure that they are dry. That's both bearings cleaned off with the cleaning fluid and then dried off, rinsed off with some fresh water to get the cleaning fluid off. And now I've dried them off with a paper towel, but I'm just going to finish off by using the airline here to blow them through, just make sure that they're thoroughly dry. And then as a last step, I'm going to spray them with some brake cleaner, just to get any residual dampness and any residual grease out of there. Give them a good clean off with this brake cleaner. And give them a good rub with this paper towel, so I've got lots of brake cleaner on there. Right, put that aside to dry. Do the same with this one. Blow it off. pretty dry actually, and then some brake cleaner on it. You can probably see on the paper towel there's still quite a lot of dirt coming out of there, so it's worth doing this because all of that dirt contamination that gets in with the grease acts like grinding paste over time. So clean that off with a fresh bit of towel, and I put both those bearings on one side just for the brake cleaner to evaporate off and dry up, and then I'm going to re-grease them. So I'm going to go and put the kettle on for a minute. See you in 5 minutes. Because the wheels on this trailer have a grease nipple and a system there to grease the bearings, normally what I do for maintenance is I just pump some grease with my grease gun, pump some grease into each set of bearings. About once a year I do that, and then it keeps the whole system packed out with grease, so you know it's lubricated, and also it stops water and dirt getting in there as well. But I just thought this time, rather than simply just adjusting and re-greasing them, I'd take them all apart just to check the bearings and make sure they're okay, and indeed they are. So this is the outer bearing here. There's two bearings in the wheel, each wheel, as I showed you. So you can see they're roller bearings here. I'm just moving a bit closer in the cage, and then the inner race there is integrated with it. And so even though there's no grease on this at the moment because I just cleaned it, it runs beautifully smoothly, does that. So there's no problem with that bearing. I'm going to reuse that. So just check the bearing. I've got the inner bearing here. Same with that. It's absolutely fine. There's a few little marks and stuff on it, but they're absolutely fine. It runs nice and smoothly. So I'm just going to repack those bearings and put them back in, put them down. If I just pick up the wheel and show you here, the outer race is actually built into the wheel. You maybe can't see, but I've cleaned all the grease because this was all packed solid all the way through. Though, was packed solid with grease. So I've cleaned all grease out, checked the races, a few little marks on them, but they're absolutely fine, smooth, and that's the outer race of the inner bearing. So I don't know if you can see there, but they're lovely. So I've got no issues with just repacking these bearings and putting them back in. If you're watching this, you probably already know, but I'll just explain if you're sort of new to such things. The reason why the bearings are conical like this is so that you can tighten them down. So when I tighten up that castellated nut, it pushes the bearings closer together like that, which then tightens up so you can adjust how tight the bearings are. If they were parallel bearings, then there will be no adjustment in them. So you've got the outer race that these run on is conical, so you're just sort of pushing it further down the cone so you've got it as tight as you want. Right, so let's repack these bearings. Now you can get a little tool for doing this, and to be honest, I'm surprised I haven't got it because I'm a bit of a tool addict, but I guess it's a job that I don't do very often, so it's just not really worth doing. So I'm just going to repack them by hand. So I'll pack the bearings by hand, put them back in, and then I'll probably pump a load of grease into the system just to really pack it out anyway. So the grease I'm going to use here is just, here it is, lithium grease, high melting point lithium grease, which is sort of general all-purpose grease, such things. So just get a bit out, a dollop out. So just get a little bit on my hand like that, and then if you have a look, the back of the bearing here, between the bearing cage here and the inner race, there's a bit of a gap around the edge here, and that's what I'm trying to push the grease down to that. So I've just pushed the bearing down onto the grease in my hand like that, turning it, going round, and you can probably see there as I go round, it's pushing the grease in there, and I'm just really pushing as much grease as I can down between that inner race and the bearing cage and the bearings as I go round, pushing that in. So inevitably I've got some on the inside there, which I can just get back out now. And you can see it's actually come out the top there. So that means that that's fully packed now, and I can feel that that's fully packed to that bearing. So that was the outer one. I'll do the same with the inner one. I'm going to get a bit more grease in my hand here. And again, same principle, you're just pushing it down that gap between the inner race and the roller cage. Just try and get as much as I can in there. So yeah, I'm happy with that. That's fairly well packed. Just get that last little bit in there. Right, lovely. So that's unpacked. Just get a bit of this grease off my hands. So the last thing I'm just going to do is just have a look at the spindle, or rather show you the spindle. Just pull it over. So here's the spindle on the axle, and you just want to make sure that's okay. So I've cleaned all the grease off that, turn it round so you can see. So this is the spindle here, and you can see that that's clean, no problems with that at all. If you do get a seized bearing, quite often it seizes on there and then starts running and chews up that surface, in which case, you know, on this one, this is actually welded into this arm here, so you know the whole unit would have to be replaced. So yeah, never let your bearings get dry and seize up. Right, so now I can start reassembling. Alright, just move the camera, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So got some grease, just grease up the outer race. This is the inner bearing first. So I've got the inner bearing there with the seal on it, and drop that into place. If I'm honest, it really could do with a new seal on there, the inside. I think I haven't got one, so, and I'm using the trailer tomorrow, so I'll maybe get a new seal for that. So that's the inner one in. The outer bearing, again, the outer bearing, just put some grease around the outer race of that and the outside bearing. Pop that bearing in, and then I'm going to pop the wheel back onto the spindle back round here in place. Through. Oh, inevitably that outer bearing just pops out of place, but just put it back into place like that. Okay, so just move that so you can see. So that's the bearing back on. Pop that little nut, washer on there, too big of a pardon, and then the castellated nut. And I'm going to tighten that down so I'm happy that the bearing runs free, but there's as little play in it as possible. So you can see that that's totally free. We'll just see what well, there's no play in that at all actually. Wow, that's nice. So you see that's running nicely. Oh, tiny little bit of play in there, honest, but I think I'm happy with that. Yep. Yeah, tiniest amount of play, hardly any at all. But the bearings are running nicely. Okay, so split pin through to lock it in place. Fiddly getting this through. There we are. Bend the ends of that over. Okay, so happy with that. Lovely, lovely. Put that outer dust cap back on. That's just a push fit on there. And then the last job is I am going to repack this with some fresh grease. So there's the bleed nipple. So I'll just get my grease gun and pack that out with some fresh grease. So the whole inside of that area is packed out with grease. Okay, here's my grease gun. And so if I get that onto the nipple there and then tighten that down, just tightening the end of the grease down onto the nipple there, so that locks on. Just using a bit of rag to get a bit purchased because my hands are slippy with the grease on the gloves. I think that's about as tight as I'm going to go. Right, so pump the grease gun. Oh, that's not tight enough. I can see the grease just coming out around the nipple. I have to tighten that down a bit more. Right, I've just tightened up this fitting on the end of my grease gun. That was where the problem lay. That was a bit loose. I think I had a different fitting on it when I'd not tightened it up properly. So now there's still just a little bit leaking out there, but most of that grease is finding its way inside the bearing. I'm just checking. I think that'll be enough for now. Right, so that's that wheel done. Let's do the other one. Right, so that's both wheels done. I didn't bother filming the second one because it's exactly the same procedure for both wheels, though I would say when I took the bearings out, the grease in the second wheel was even dirtier, more contaminated than the grease in the first one. So I'm glad I did the job. Even though every year I pump fresh grease in it, I think it was a good idea just to clean all that grease out, clean the bearings up and just start with some fresh grease and readjust them. Because of course the last thing you want to do is to have a bearing failure on your trailer whilst you're using it. At best you're going to end up stranded somewhere, and at worst it could end up in some kind of catastrophe where the trailer goes flying and you lose your bike, damage your bike, which really would be terrible. So it's taken me, I don't know, just over an hour to do this. So well worth, if you have got a trailer, just keeping on top of it like this. So as always, I would say I hope you found this interesting, hope you found it useful. That's why I make the videos, just try and share the love with other people, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye.